Shalom, shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach, woman like Yahushai. Double honor to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach, woman like Yahushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying. They're fasting. They're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Akwat out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive and diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom, shalom. This would be a quick cold cut, pretty much a before camp warning through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai, charging brothers and remind. This mainly for the men that go out there and do the work, right? But you also have brothers that are aspiring to go out there and working themselves up in the spirit to find their calling in this truth and to see their gifts and their talents that the Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai has given them, and to use those gifts and talents to be able to seal the elect and to magnify the name of the Lord. Cap is only 35% of doing the work, right? Cap is only 35% of doing the work. Brothers only go to cap. I know here, WFI brothers go to cap pretty much a mandatory twice a week, right? Some brothers go to cap 3 times a week. Chiefly Friday and Saturday. Some brothers go on Sunday. Brothers aren't going to camp every day out the week, right? So when you're not at camp, and camp is pivotal, man. When you, and like I said, I'm not going to be able, or like I always say, I'm not going to be able to pull, 1,000 precepts. I'm not going to be able to stop and read, right, and just kind of do an in-depth breakdown. I'm just going in the spirit, right? So I'm gonna do a lot of paraphrasing, and hopefully you bear with me, and you become the church Berea to search the scriptures daily to see whether the things that we're saying is so, right? So when you read the book of Luke chapter 14 and 23, right, the book of Matthew chapter 22, 7 on down, the Lord speaks about going out into the highways and hedges, or highways and byways, and compelling them to come into the Lord's house, that his house may be filled, because the Lord has a wedding. So we are commanded to go out there on the highways and byways, right? We are commanded to go out there and teach, because when we're teaching, it's our job to teach our people their God-given nationality, repentance, faith, who Yahweh is, the resurrection, the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the prophecies, right? This is what we teach. Now, that plays a major role and sealing the elect. When we say sealing the elect, it means that there are a particular amount of souls and spirits out there that have been created to be able to bear witness with the information given to them, accept that information, believe that they may be saved. So those are the elect, right? Those individuals. We have to go out there and teach that those men may come into the truth, right? There's 144,000, 12,000 of each tribe that have to come into this truth and be saved. Now, chiefly, brothers go out and the elect are being sealed via camp. There are videos that brothers post, because Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai has created this internet, this YouTube, Instagram, social media platforms, alternative media, to be able to spread this information and spread this truth throughout the 4 corners of the earth. So you don't have to physically go to a lot of these places on a physical level. It helps if you can, but more so, this word is hitting these other countries due to this internet. And it's due to brothers posting videos of them being at camp. Now, you're not at camp, like I was saying earlier, 7 days out the week. You're only at camp maybe, I don't know, some brothers only go to camp once a week. And if you're going twice a week, you're only there, what, once a week, the other 5 to 6 days. You have to ask yourself, well, what are you doing? Because you still are commanded to do this work, even though you're not at camp. And teaching the people is not the only form of doing the work. making videos is not the form of doing this work. There are other forms of doing it. Men have to really ask themselves what they doing. And I'm like I said, I'm just shooting off the top of the head things that I've been kind of meditating on. Now, other forms of doing this work is alms, giving alms, and charity. That's one, right? I'm gonna give a few. Alms is giving physical, money, gifts, things to the poor. It could be food, shelter, water, nourishment, things to sustain the living. That's alms. Yeah, that's not going to camp and rebuking the nations and getting on the Edomites and the Moabites and teaching your people repentance and the laws and the commandments. But guess what? That's still doing the work, right? That's still part of doing the work. So camp is 35% doing the work. Already is another, 15%, right? That's about, now you have 50%. Because alms and charity delivers from death. That's written in the book of 1 Peter, the 4th chapter, and the book of Tobit. Tobit was heavy into alms. Tobit was one of our forefathers. When you read about alms, he lived his life predicated on alms and charity. Tobit was known for burying the dead, man. He wasn't going out there on the highways and byways and shooting off precept after precept and stealing the elect. How many men are going to be in the kingdom of heaven of our forefathers that didn't go to camp? Think about that. Abraham didn't go to camp, right? Now you can say, well, look at the regeneration. Well, we understand that men are going to come back. David was in that camp. Hezekiah was in that camp. There are plenty of, Daniel wasn't in that camp on the highways and byways. John the Baptist, these men are still the elect. So that lets you know that camp, it's not just going to get you a spot in the kingdom. Because you have men that are going to be in the kingdom who never went to camp, who never went out on the highways and byways and taught the people, right? Repentance. You have men that never done that. Nehemiah didn't go to camp. And we can go on and on about various men. Simon, Judas Maccabees, right? Onias. These are all righteous men who didn't go to camp, but yet these men had other works that they have done and that they have did that has granted them a spot in the kingdom of heaven. So you should be looking at these works of these men and say, okay, well, look, outside of camp, what else can I do to magnify the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua? Right? That's the question that every man should be asking himself. And I gave you one example, right? Again, Tobit didn't go out on the highways and byways, right? Tobit didn't have readers. He didn't have a shofar in his hand, right? Tobit was burying the dead. That's charity. Tobit had faith despite the threats of the king of Assyria. Whereas burying your loved ones or burying fellow Israelites was a sin, or was a slaki, not a sin, a punishment worthy of death by the hand of the Assyrian Empire. So he had faith, and he still was doing the work. Abraham had faith, and he was willing to sacrifice his son, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, man. His faith was imputed to him for righteousness, right? Fighting all manner of doubt and spirits. So these are things that, again, we have to ask ourselves as men, what other work am I doing? So not only is charity and alms part of doing the work, when you read the book of Matthew chapter 25, 31 on down, right? When you read the book of James chapter 1 and 26 on down, James chapter 1 and 26 on down, it says pure religion is visiting the fatherless and the widow, paraphrasing, man, and keeping yourself unspotted from the world. So that's also part of doing the work. Visiting brothers that are sick, right? Visiting brothers, you may have old men. That's part of doing the work. Taking care of the fatherless. That's part of doing the work. All of this goes into doing the work. exhortation, right? You had men that strictly were into exhortation, encouraging brothers. When you read about Haggai, right? This is a key example. The book of Haggai is one of the shortest books in the entire Bible. It's only 2 chapters long. But there's no account of Haggai, doing great mighty works. Haggai didn't go to camp, right? Haggai doesn't have a lot of in-depth mysteries in there, like Daniel or like Ezekiel. But what was Haggai doing? Haggai's job was to exhort men to keep pushing it in his truth. His job was to exhort men that were over him, men like Zerubbabel, men like Joshua, and other princes and nobles, to keep building the temple. Do not be complacent and do not be satisfied with mediocrity. No? That was his job, to keep pushing, keep grinding. Despite what Sanballat, well, not Sanballat, but these Assyrians and these Persians and Babylonians and Medes and heathens and Hamites was doing, man. So guess what? Haggai is still one of the elect. And he's one of the elect because of his exhortation. Because he was that brother and remind brothers, keep pushing. And no, he didn't go to camp. Camp is only 35 work. Right? When you read about Onias, Onias was a high priest, right, during the time of the Maccabees. Onias prayed for the whole body of the Jews, man. You had a man, and I'm trying to remember his name through the Spirit, Salakia, it evades me right now, but I think it's Onesiphorus in the book of Colossians. It's written that this man labored fervently in prayer, right? This man, part of him doing the work was not just going with Paul and traveling, but this man labored in prayers night and day. That's part of doing the work. Even in 1 Samuel chapter 12, 21 on down, Samuel said, God forbid that I should cease in praying for you, that I should sin and cease to pray for you, but I will show you the good and right way of the Lord. Paraphrasing. Right? So praying for your brother is also part of doing the work. So there are many levels of doing this work. And this man, I believe his name is Onesiphorus. A brother could correct me if I'm wrong. Right? But this brother prayed night and day for the souls of the elect, right? So you may say, look, I'm not a teacher. Everybody's not a teacher. Don't be discouraged that you're not a teacher. Don't be discouraged because level of knowledge as the next brother. Don't be discouraged or down. And I know brothers get down. Wow, this brother is able to do this. And well, don't compare yourself. I always tell brothers that, man. Do not compare yourself to another man's works. Don't compare yourself to another brother's level of understanding. You have a gift and a talent that Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua has given you. Find that gift that the Most High has given you. Pray and fast and seek out that gift and use that gift to push this truth, man. Now, you may be a teacher. You may not. But just because you don't teach, don't mean that you can't do work. You can give alms. You can be charitable. Right? You can be there. You can exhort your brother. Right? You can be the brother that labor fervently in prayers. Night and day. You can be the brother. Look, I'm a fast for these brothers. I know these brothers going to camp. Hey, look, I'm gonna be the brother. Look, I'm gonna go on a fast and for these brothers, man. Right? Or in 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, the Lord speaks about diversities of operations, but the same Lord. Right? So you have gifts of helps too. You have men that just help out. They help out. They bring water out. Right? They may donate money. You have guys that bring umbrellas when it rains. They make camp signs. Right? They help out with furnishing the school and things of that nature, man. And giving to the poor in secret. And I know brothers that visit brothers in prison, man. And they do prison ministries. Right? They actually do prison ministries where they go out there and they deal with the brothers in prison. Even Yahushua said, I was in prison and ye visited me not. That's on a physical level. Right? We know that's spiritual and physical. So there are different ways to do this work. Camp is only 35% of doing the work of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. That's not the end all be all. It's very important. It plays that 35%. That's just a number that I made up. I can't prove it with statistics. I don't have the stats. I don't have an in-depth analysis of hours spent at camp compared to hours spent. I don't have all of that data information. It's just a number I'm throwing out in the spirit. All right, just to let brothers know that camp is only a little over a third, from what I understand through experience, of doing the work. Right? Because then you got to do counsels. You may have to counsel a brother. That's part of doing the work. Studying. The Lord said in 2 Timothy chapter 2 and 15, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High. A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Right? That keep in mind that studying is also part of working and laboring. Taking that time to build yourself up in knowledge and to go back over your notes, go back over your precepts to be able to make sure that you're equipped to be able to discern what's sound doctrine and what's false doctrine. That takes work. Right? These are all part of things that go into building up the nation in the last days. I know brothers, they are somewhat of an apothecary. So I know brothers, part of them helping out the nation is they have herbs and medicines they make when brothers have infirmities, and certain brothers get sick, right? And they don't really want to go to the so-called white man or take his medicine. These brothers have sacrificed their time to research and to develop particular herbs and medicines to help brothers out. They're apothecaries. And their job is to grind up these herbs and help brothers out and deliver them and mail them to brothers. Say, here, Ak, I know you at camp. I know you're doing this. Here, if you take this out, take this herb, it'll be good for your back. Right? Okay, it's the winter time. I know the brothers, I don't want them to get sick out there. Here, take this ginger root. I'll get y'all brothers some turmeric and you use this. That's also helping doing the work. Right? So I wanted to put this into perspective that brothers may be able to discern what true labor is and how manifold labors go in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and in the eyes of men that actually do this work, man. Right? And this goes well with sisters too, because sisters can do the work. And sisters don't go to camp, but they're still going to be the elect. Right? Married women and unmarried women, they're still going to be the elect. And as a woman, you have to ask yourself, okay, what work am I doing? Right? What work am I doing in the last days? There's work that women can do. Dorcas did woman work. Right? She made coats and garments. You had women that washed the saints' feet, meaning they took care of the saints that traveled. You had women that gave alms. Right? You had women in Proverbs 31 that did all types of things and made girdles, and I know sisters that make they're good with like artwork and pictures, and they made like a cat poster. Right? I know sisters that make garments for brothers. They bring food out to brothers that are laboring. Like I know y'all brothers been out there laboring. I know y'all have been out there. It's hot. Kind of made y'all some here's some fruit. Right? Here's some fruit. Here's some ice water. Right? Look, y'all been out here laboring, and look, it is what it is. Right? When you read about the house of David, right? The house of David is a group of men, not just David's bloodline, but the house of David is in fact a group of men who are part of David's kingdom and regime that allowed him to be successful as he ruled. Right? Now, Salakia. Now you had men when David was in the wilderness, right? David was in the wilderness as he escaped from Absalom, and he had to flee out there, right? David had men like Barzillai the Gileadite, if I'm not mistaken, who actually helped David out, right? And he brought David food, and they brought him beds, and they brought him figs, and they brought him all of these things. It's like, I just pulled up the camp to be able to help David out when it came to him and his suffering and affliction. And these men, again, did not go to camp. Stop thinking that you have to go to camp to do the work of the Lord, man. It don't just work like that. It's not just about going to camp. Again, camp is part of doing the work, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. We get that, right? Camp is part of doing the work, but it's not the only level and form of doing the work. And we want brothers to kind of keep that in mind through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, right? So that's something for brothers to meditate on, right? The Lord said in Sirach chapter 14 and 20, blessed is the man that doeth meditate good things and wisdom, right? And that reasoneth of holy things by his understanding. So you want to meditate these good things and meditate where your works are, right? Because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua said in Revelation chapter 22 and 12, behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give unto every man according as his work shall be, right? So the Lord is going to give unto every man according as his work shall be. So you have to, that's serious, man. You're going to get rewarded according to the work that you have been doing, the work that you have been putting in. And if you've only been putting in about 30% of the work, and you haven't been giving laboring to prayer, laboring and fasting, right? Laboring in alms, laboring in charity, laboring in exhortation, laboring and checking on your brother. If you haven't been putting in work on that, then I don't know what to tell you, man. So you really need to examine yourself. We all need to examine ourselves and see if we're really using our gifts and talents as well as Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua would like us to. But with that, walking up the camp, giving of course all honor and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Most High willing you are edified. We may do a live camp. We'll see through the spirit from Yeshua. Shalom.